Why do people worship idols? Why does idol worship stubbornly persist despite many centuries of prejudice, bigotry, and violence against it? Can such worship help us find our true purpose in life and ultimately attain peace and prosperity? Catherine Nixey's The Darkening Age, The Christian Destruction of the Classical World is a gut-wrenching book to read. She speaks of what happened in Europe and Egypt from the 3rd and 4th century onwards. It is a book about how early Christians destroyed temples, smashed statues, banned free discussion of religion, and burnt books in order to ensure that everyone in the Roman Empire complied with their aggressive new religion. The nightmare unfolds as Nixey writes. Townspeople rushed to watch as internationally famous temples were destroyed. Intellectuals looked on in despair as volumes of supposedly unchristian books went up in flames. Art lovers watched in horror as some of the greatest sculptures in the ancient world were smashed by people too stupid to appreciate them and certainly too stupid to recreate them. It is impossible to imagine how painful the journey through Athens would have been. As they went, they would have walked through the same streets and squares where their heroes, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, had once walked and worked and argued. They would have seen in them 1,000 reminders that those celebrated times were gone. The temples of Athens were closed and crumbling, and many of the brilliant statues that had once stood in them had been defaced or removed. Actually, idol worship was prevalent in most of the ancient world, including cultures like the Greco-Roman pagans, the Celts, the Egyptians, the Mesopotamians, the Central Americans, and even in Africa. However, many of these cultures were eventually wiped out of existence over the last 2,000 years. India is among the last surviving ancient cultures, along with Japan and to some extent China, which has also suffered due to cultural revolutions. Why should you care, you may ask? Well, 3 main reasons. The first is that it's worth exploring why ancient cultures that practiced idol worship tend to be intuitively liberal, while idol-rejecting cultures have historically massacred millions. There are few instances of the reverse happening. The second reason is to understand your own roots and ancient philosophy. Post the event, how many Hindus understand the power and the beauty of idol worship? For so many centuries, people have been repeatedly telling Hindus that Murti Puja is wrong, and now Hindus themselves don't understand the power and beauty of the philosophy. Catherine Nixey accurately conveys this sentiment. The very memory that there was any opposition at all to Christianity faded. The idea that philosophers might have fought fiercely with all they had against Christianity was passed over. The memory that many were alarmed at the spread of this violently intolerant religion fades from view. The idea that many were not delighted but instead disgusted by the sight of burning and demolished temples was and is brushed aside. The idea that intellectuals were appalled and scared by the sight of books burning in pyres is forgotten. I'm not saying that today's people have to answer for what happened, but we must speak of this calmly so that we can analyze what went wrong. It's important to reflect on history to ensure that the past atrocities are not repeated. And here comes our third reason. If India, as one of the last surviving idol-worshipping cultures, doesn't engage in this analysis, then who will? So what does idol worship really mean? Idol worship, or the veneration of physical representations of deities, holds profound significance in Hinduism. The roots of idol worship in Hinduism can be traced back to ancient times, with evidence of anthropomorphic representations of deities found in archaeological excavations dating back thousands of years. These early depictions served as focal points for religious rituals and communal worship, embodying the divine presence within tangible forms accessible to devotees. In Vedic tradition, God is worshipped in 2 forms. One is Nirakar, which is formless, and the second is Sakar, with form. Nirakar is a form of God that is not visible to us. Nirakar is eternal, it will remain the same. Sakar is a form of God that is visible to us, and it can be changed. A verse from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad explains it further. It states, God has 2 forms, dead and nectar, constant and variable, Sat and Tyat. In addition, there are 2 verses from the Vedas on idol worship. The first is from the Atharva Veda. It states, O God, come here and get enshrined in this stone idol. May your body become this stone idol. The second verse is from the Yajur Veda. That means, O Mahavir, you are the idol of God. Despite this, in the Vedas, idol worship is not as prominent as it is in the Puranic age, but it still follows the fundamental philosophy of the Vedas of seeing the entire universe as divine. Those who reject idols, their approach to murtis is that there is only one God who is divine, and it's usually a male god, and the entire universe is impure in many ways, with all of us carrying an original sin. But in Vedic Indian traditions, even prior to Murti Puja, it saw all of us as divine. And if you think about that, Murti Puja is essentially a step forward from there. After seeing the rivers as divine, seeing earth as divine, seeing you and I as divine, which is what Namaste also means, it goes a step forward to bring focus to my meditation. I will make a murti or idol as well and see that as divine too. So it's an extension from the thought that the entire universe is divine. One can say that the worship of idols evolved as a means of making faith even more accessible to those who may not have the levels of concentration required to focus on the formless consciousness Brahman. This scene from the Oscar-nominated film The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar gives a concise explanation of the process of meditation where focus is given to one specific image.
Now, what was the great yogi's instruction? Here it comes.
The mind is a scattered thing. It concerns itself with thousands of different items at once. Things you are seeing around you, things you are hearing and smelling, things you are thinking about, things you are trying not to think about. You must learn to concentrate your mind in such a way that you can visualize at will one item only, and absolutely nothing else. If you work hard at this, you may be able to concentrate your conscious mind on any one object you select for approximately 3.5 minutes. This will take around 20 years of diligent daily continual effort.
Brahman manifests in various forms and attributes known as deities or devas. These deities are considered manifestations of Brahman, serving as intermediaries between the transcendental and the mundane realms. Idol worship thus facilitates a tangible connection with these divine beings, enabling devotees to establish personal relationship with the divine. Each deity is depicted with specific attributes, gestures, and iconography that convey deeper philosophical truths and spiritual teachings. For example, the 4 arms of Lord Vishnu symbolize his omnipotence and the preservation of the universe, while the elephant-headed form of Lord Ganesh represents wisdom and intellect. Through these symbolic representations, idols serve as visual aids for meditation and contemplation, guiding devotees on their spiritual journey towards self-realization. The ancient Indian art of sculpture, Shilpa Shastra, developed its own norms of measures and proportions. Iconometry was an integral part of the Murti Shilpa, creation of idols. The Dhyana Shlokas are the contemplative hymns, and they describe the spiritual quality of each deity and its forms and attributes. They also specify whether the image should be dynamic or static, seated or standing, and they also detail the hand gestures and poses. The energy of the temple is created by the presence of the deity, the chanting of mantras, and the offerings made by the devotees. The energy of temples is believed to have positive influence on our lives in a number of ways. For one, the energy of the temple can help to purify our own energy and remove negative influences. The energy of the temple can help to strengthen our own connection to the divine and inspire us to live a more virtuous and purposeful life. Temples are also believed to be a source of healing energy. This is particularly true in Ayurveda, the ancient Indian system of medicine. Temples are often built near natural sources of water or other elements. These are believed to have healing properties. The unique feature of a temple is the presence of prana pratishta. This is the process in which the energy of the deity is invoked and infused into the temple. The energy of the deity is believed to permeate the entire temple and radiate out to all those that come to seek its blessings. This energy can help to transform our consciousness and elevate our spiritual awareness. This works in a similar way that concerts or sports events are used as energy centers for manifestation. The magic of manifestation, or quantum physics, of creation through intention basically comes down to energy, of which temples had plentiful of. The relationship of idol worship and rituals goes beyond logic. in the past 500 years dominated by reason and logic, we tend to overlook the simplicity of mere wonder and intuition. Rituals play a significant role in helping us be present in the moment, grounding our minds which often wander between past and future. They bring attention and ceremony, fostering a sense of presence and engagement. Rituals train us to bring our best selves into the present moment. However, over the last 500 to 600 years, there has been a trend towards de-ritualization, particularly influenced by the Protestant Reformation. This movement, driven by resistance to Catholicism, led to a decline in rituals within Christianity. This decline has affected other faiths as well, as they have come into contact with Protestant European colonizers. Indic faith systems, too, have faced questioning of the necessity of rituals. Those segments of faith systems that have undergone de-ritualization have experienced a loss of vigor, vitality, and even identity over time. Therefore, apart from extracting the scientific or logical explanations for idol worship, we must also celebrate the fact that it is a ritual in and of itself. Rituals play vital roles in strengthening faith and society. In Hinduism, the ritual of idol worshipping permeates every aspect of daily life and communities. Temples adorned with intricate sculptures and colorful paintings serve as sacred spaces for worship and religious festivities. Despite its widespread practice, idol worship in Hinduism has faced criticism and misunderstanding from both within and outside the tradition. Some critics argue that idol worship promotes superstition and idolatry, detracting from the essence of spirituality. Others view it as an anthropomorphism, projecting human qualities onto divine entities. However, idol worship serves as a tangible means of expressing devotion and reverence, enabling a deeper sense of connection with the divine presence. So, to give an idol human-like qualities is not wrong, as Brahman, the all-pervading consciousness, manifests in infinite forms. Far from being mere objects of worship, idols represent the embodiment of divine presence and serve as vehicles for spiritual communication. Here, the pages of history go silent, but the stones remember the heat of those flames, the crackling of burning pages, and the shadows cast by those pyres, whispering the truth to those who will listen.